You may have noticed that Donald Trump and especially Hillary Clinton talked a lot about Iran during the first presidential debate. Rather than going after Clinton for her foreign policy blunders in, say, Libya or Egypt while Secretary of State, Trump decided instead to go after Clinton for the Obama administration's pitiful nuclear deal with Iran. It's an interesting strategy, and Trump is correct to raise this issue. The Iranian deal is a sham, and it will never stop Iran from building covert nuclear weapons. In the years since the deal has been in place, we've only seen more of the same bad behavior from Iran. The deal has encouraged more of Iran's regional military aggression, and it's allowed billions of dollars to pour into the hands of the mullahs in Iran, cash that's used to prop up the Assad regime in Syria, used to bankroll terrorist groups like Hezbollah, and used to suppress and even murder dissidents, minorities, opposition voices, and human rights activists inside Iran. But still, Hillary Clinton defends this terrible deal. Here's a clip from the first presidential debate.
With respect to Iran, when I became Secretary of State, Iran was weeks away from having enough nuclear material to form a bomb.
This particular claim did not pass the fact checkers. According to a foreign correspondent from NBC who was fact-checking on Twitter, quote, Clinton claims Iran was weeks away from a nuclear bomb. No intelligence estimate from any country supports that. Wrong, unquote. In fact, both U.S. national intelligence and Israeli intelligence confirmed that Iran was not actively trying to build a bomb at that particular point in time. Clinton goes on to discuss her role in imposing sanctions against Iran.
We had sanctioned them. I voted for every sanction against Iran when I was in the Senate, but it wasn't enough. So I spent a year and a half putting together a coalition that included Russia and China to impose the toughest sanctions on Iran. And we did drive them to the negotiating table.
So here Clinton brags that it was her work with the UN Security Council and the tough sanctions that she helped impose that forced Iran to the negotiating table in the first place. Okay, but there's a lot more to it. The sanctions were crippling to the government in Tehran. The regime was desperate. In fact, they were teetering on the cusp of a collapse. And rather than letting them fall, rather than letting an Arab Spring, or in this case a Persian Spring, lead to regime change and possibly even democracy in Iran, Obama's nuclear deal gave the Iranian regime a lifeline. Iran came to the negotiating table because they were desperate, and yet the final version of the deal does not reflect Iran's inherent weaknesses. Trump correctly picks up on this important point, asking Clinton why they didn't drive a harder deal.
When they made that horrible deal with Iran, they should have included the fact that they do something with respect to North Korea, and they should have done something with respect to Yemen and all these other places. And when asked to Secretary Kerry, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you add other things into the deal? One of the great giveaways of all time. So you say to yourself, why didn't they make the right deal? This is one of the worst deals ever made by any country in history.
This is Trump's strongest point, and he is absolutely right. If Iran was really forced to the negotiating table thanks to Clinton's tough sanctions, then why wouldn't the US and its negotiating partners demand more from Iran? Why not demand that Iran stop funding terrorism in places like Yemen, Syria, and Israel? Why didn't they demand free and fair elections in Iran, or the right to a fair trial in Iran? Why didn't they demand an end to political executions, or to the death penalty for minors, or to the everyday harassment of women by morality police? Why not demand justice for Iran's crimes against humanity, including the mass murder of over 30,000 political dissidents back in 1988? It was the same regime in power then as in power now. Well, here's what Clinton had to say.
There's no doubt that we have other problems with Iran, but personally, I'd rather deal with the other problems having put that lid on their nuclear program than still to be facing that.
She can only acknowledge the point and basically concede it. The wicked Iranian regime was on the verge of collapse, and Clinton's team exaggerated the risk of an imminent nuclear attack in order to justify a pathway towards Obama's legacy deal. Iran realized that Obama wanted to make a deal, and that he was staking his legacy as president on it. Iran manipulated the West. They got a deal that will allow billions of dollars in cash now and a pathway towards a bomb in the future. Trump is right. The nuclear deal is a disaster. And if Hillary Clinton wants to hold that up as one of her finest accomplishments as Secretary of State, well, then her judgment is every bit as bad as Donald Trump says it is. Thanks for watching. Want even more from The Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.